It's Chuck from Above the Basement, Boston Music and Conversation, the official podcast partner of the 2017 Boston Music Awards. 2017 sees the Boston Music Awards celebrate their 30th anniversary on December 7th at House of Blues in Boston. Tickets are open to the public and on sale now via the Boston Music Awards website at bostonmusicawards.com. The night will feature multiple live performances from nominated artists, and winners will also be announced that night, so if you want to see who wins firsthand, make sure you grab tickets. Before we begin, I'd like to give a shout out to some fellow podcasters. Dan Steiny Steinberg and Luke Pierce of Promoter 101 recently did a live show at Berklee College of Music in Boston, and Ron and I were fortunate enough to be there. They do a great job of talking to promoters and others in the concert biz. Dan and I connected last year, and it was nice to meet them face to face. Check them out at promoter101.com. Alyssa Spector is the founder of Lysten Boston and has been booking, promoting, and developing Boston bands and artists since 2014. This is the second year in a row she's been nominated for a Boston Music Award for Promoter of the Year. She also works for PledgeMusic, an online direct-to-fan music platform that helps connect musicians to their fan base. She's the primary booker for the Plough and Stars in Cambridge and recently produced the Tremont Takeover event at the Wang Center, and she currently has a fantastic roster of musicians, including Radclyffe Hall, Roxy Pro, Cruel Miracle, and Ballon. Our friend Ike Walker sat in with me this time around, taking Ron's seat while Ron is currently on a brief hiatus in October. We'll have a few episodes this month with some guest co-hosts. Okay, so here is our conversation with Alyssa Spector, recorded at Woods Hill Table in Concord, Massachusetts. You get a sticker. You just don't have a glass.
I thought this was a coaster.
You know, we want to make some coasters.
It's not a bad idea. Stick with the circular theme.
Yeah, the circular theme, and but they end up being like $1.30 a piece unless you get like 4,000 of them, and I don't want 4,000 coasters.
Yeah.
So the stickers are, they're cheap.
Nice. So how long of an interview do you usually do?
As long as it needs to be. It can be 40 minutes, an hour. We just talked to Ryan Miller last week, and we talked to him for 90 minutes. Oh. Actually, a little longer than that. So we talk until we get tired, and then we edit it down to about 35, 40 minutes, sometimes 45, depending. All depends on how interesting you are. Okay. It's all in your hands. If you are not interesting, it'll be like a quick 5 minute.
Oh, it's a lot of pressure.
I know. But we're rolling. So thank you for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
So I know you don't know me. I'm Chuck Lau.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
This is the old joke. The first 3 times I met her, I'd introduce myself to her as if like she wouldn't remember me,
right?
Because I have that kind of complex,
right?
And she's like, "I know who you are." You introduce yourself to me five or six times. So now it's not so funny anymore. Though.
It's good. It's a way to underscore to make sure people know how to pronounce your last name. Because they might not be comfortable with it.
That's a good thought.
That's true.
That's very good.
One of my best friends, her last name is Clarity, so it's like half of your name. But
Clarity.
Clarity. That's how she pronounces
it.
How
do you spell it?
Cloughgerty.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's Clarity.
Yes.
Clarity. Yeah, I knew a Clarity family in North Carolina growing up, spelled the same way.
Yeah.
But they pronounce it incorrectly, though.
I guess so.
It should be Clarity.
Yes.
Although I think in Ireland they call it Clow is pronounced click, which makes no sense at all. One thing we can start off talking about is, well, first of all, you're a promoter for Lysten Boston.
Yes.
Okay, it's a company that you started.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you were nominated for your second Promoter of the Year in a row. You were in 2016 and this year as well.
Yes.
Although the name of it, the award has changed, right?
They changed it. Yeah, I think it is.
It used to be.
It was Best Promoter. And
Best
then
Promoter
Promoter
last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're not necessarily the best promoter this year. You're just Promoter of the Year.
Promoter of the yeah.
I guess it's kind of like saying for the Academy Awards, and the Oscar goes to instead of and the winner is.
Yes.
So that you don't know, so you don't think there are any losers.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, there's no losers in the Boston Music Awards.
No. Everybody's a winner.
All the nominees are winners.
Oh yeah. I have some serious competition too. Last year I did as well, but.
So who else is nominated? I can't remember.
It's pretty much everyone that was involved in my Tremont Takeover event.
Oh,
so
good.
That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. Were you surprised at the nomination?
I was. I'm always surprised. I'm always surprised when you ask me to come on here and when people notice me and what I'm doing and want to work with me. I'm always surprised.
You're doing a lot.
I am. Yeah. I'm trying to be as involved as I can be. Yeah, I always feel it's like humbling.
When I asked you last year to come on, you seemed a little hesitant about it, but you didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
It took me like 3 or 4 times to introduce myself before you knew who I was.
Right, yeah.
So I read a little bit about the Tremont Takeover the other day. Sounds like a really fascinating event. Was that a new event this year?
I went to that. That was fun.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that, because I didn't go, so I heard about it.
You could have gone.
Yeah, so that was my idea behind it, was to kind of showcase to the local community the music that exists in Boston. There's kind of always this conversation that Boston doesn't really have a music scene. I'm personally always frustrated when I come across a great new band or Berkeley kids that graduate and leave and move to New York or Nashville or LA, thinking that that's how they can really pursue a career in music. So we have a music scene here, and it's strong and it's thriving, and I really want to showcase that. So I decided to have different promoters and people in the industry involved, and all working together to each select a different performer for this multi-genre, all ages, all-inclusive type of event. So we each selected one, and we were looking for a venue initially. I was just going to have it at a larger room around town. And then one of the people in the group suggested, well, why don't we do it at the Wang Theater? I have a contact there. And I guess they had always been wanting to have live music in the lobby. They rent it out for like weddings or corporate events and stuff. But they've never actually had like live music and local music at that. So we met with them and tested out the sound and brought in a super loud rock band. And we said, all right, well, if it sounds okay with 10 people in the room and we have this loud band, then it'll sound great with a packed room and, a real sound person and everything.
How many bands did you have playing?
We had 6 performers and then a DJ in between sets. It was from like 6 to 11 p.m. It was great. It did what I wanted it to. Everyone was happy.
I had a great time. And I talked to a couple of the guys who run the Wang there, and they were psyched.
Yeah.
They were like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
I want to do this again.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, maybe they want some more rock and roll.
Yeah,
in there,
that's
maybe.
the thing. I think they really wanted to seem relevant, and we wanted a unique space to hold such a unique event. So it worked out well. Yeah, I was super happy.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of press, too, which was so exciting.
Yeah, you got a lot of press. Yeah, and you had a pretty nice crowd there, too, of people.
Yeah. Even in that space. I mean, we had like 200 people. I wanted more, but, it's the first time.
It's a big space.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah,
it's
with
huge.
the 2 floors and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so you still do Pledge Music, right?
I still do PledgeMusic.
Okay,
Yep,
can you
that's my full-time job.
Explain what you do for Pledge Music.
So I am a campaign manager. So what I do is I work with the artists that, up-and-coming emerging artists that sign up on our site looking to have a project, and I review their submissions to make sure that, their social outreach numbers align appropriately with a goal amount that they're looking to reach. And I work with them to build out the campaign, make sure that they are offering the right items in their store and everything's priced appropriately, and kind of just manage it from start to finish, make sure that they're promoting the campaign, that they're on track to reach their goal. And I also work with a lot of larger artists, either directly or with their management companies or labels that just want to use our platform as a straight pre-order. So, they have a new album coming out, they want a way to deliver it to their fans in a different way, and also offer maybe some fun items and experiences along with it.
Is this to raise money for them to be able to make the album?
Yeah,
that's the primary.
Yeah, for some of them. So if you kind of compare it to Kickstarter
Right.
or GoFundMe or something like that.
Indiegogo or
Indiegogo.
Indiegogo.
Yeah. So it's similar to that in that some of the smaller artists will come to us looking to raise money, and we just work with musicians. So we're kind of different than other platforms in that way.
You work with podcasters?
No, I don't think I've ever had one. Mm-hmm. Oh, that could be a first.
Interesting.
But it sounds really appealing.
I don't know any podcasters, but
it sounds appealing for smaller artists because, we mentioned Kickstarter, Indiegogo. That works great if you've got like a big name and a big following already. You just ask and your fans open out their pockets to give you money. But
Right.
if you're a smaller band, it sounds like you're doing really creative things for them to help them fundraise. And it sounds like a very modern approach to music promotion.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's kind of just like a digital merch store to help out these artists. And then, like with these larger artists, it's just like another way for them to connect with their fans in a kind of unique and meaningful way.
So you're doing both of those things. So you're doing Pledge Music and Lysten Boston.
Yes.
Now, what made you start Lysten Boston?
I'm not a musician. I am challenged when it comes to that. And I've always been, music has always been my number one passion. I started going to shows when I was like 12 years old. My mom would drop me off and, I'd see some local rock bands play in like an American Legion or like a church basement or something.
Are you from Boston?
Yeah, just outside of here in the Foxborough area.
Okay.
So that was always like a huge passion of mine. But not being a musician, I didn't know if that could ever be something that I could make a career out of. So, I went to school, just majored in like art history and liberal arts and just kind of whatever would equate to a degree. And didn't know what I wanted to do. I started working in the fashion industry after graduating and was doing design and product development for footwear company and then an apparel company. So I was doing that for like 8 years and kind of got to the point where I was unhappy and wanted to be doing what I loved, and I didn't know how to make that happen. So I started going to like a lot more local shows and networking and meeting with booking agents at venues and talking to bands after their sets, and really felt the need to help these local musicians in Boston. And again, kind of going back to people not thinking there's a music scene here, and I wanted to help build the music scene in this city or build it up again. So it was just like a lot of networking and talking to people and going to shows. A few people gave me a chance and kind of just worked my way up from there.
Now, is there a desire with Lysten Boston to establish a certain brand identity in terms of the artists you represent, or is it really the unifying theme, the fact that you're representing local artists from Boston?
Yeah, so I'm working with, in addition to just, booking regular shows, these one-off shows here and there, lately I'm trying to focus on artist development and helping these up-and-coming artists that might not know how to book shows or might have trouble getting gigs and don't know other bands to play with. Kind of that part of it and sort of giving everyone a chance. But then now I'm really focusing on representing certain artists. So I have a few select ones that I'm working with to book all their shows and help get them on bigger bills and maybe opening support for national acts and stuff like that. The bands that I put my name behind, it's kind of more aligned with my brand, but I still am helping anybody that needs help.
Is this band management? Then really?
A little,
are you their agent?
Yeah, like booking agent. Yeah, I guess a little management too. So
it's kind of an interesting mix of things that you do at Lysten, because you book the Plough and Stars. You're the primary booker for the Plough and Stars, correct?
Yeah, I book all the shows there.
Yeah, but you also book other places too, here and there.
Sometimes people will come to me, either they're looking to put a bill together and they want me to help them, or they have a full bill and they just need the space. So I'll contact the venues trying to get that arranged. And then, for the bands that I represent, it's either trying to get them on maybe an opening slot at Sinclair or Bright Music Hall or something like that.
Make them bounce back before I owed Kanye hoes. Send them bounce back before I do overload. Before I go and cover these lows, before I go and list these woes, bounce back. Message to the privileged. What are you doing? That's my blackness. Please don't come for it. Just let me live. Bounce back. Make them bounce back.
How many bands do you represent?
Right now, there is 4.
4 bands. Now,
Yeah.
who are these people?
So the most recent one is Ed Balloon.
Ed Balloon.
Yeah, he's incredible. You should look him up.
I was
watch his
listening
videos.
to Ed Balloon earlier today, and
Yeah.
it's really good stuff.
Oh, he's great. It's kind of like a blend of like R&B and like hip hop and pop, and he's an incredible dancer. I recently started working with him, and then there's Cruel Miracle, who
Okay.
they are a female-fronted rock and roll band, and Radclyffe Hall,
Yep.
so they're electropop, and Roxy Pro. They're kind of like surf rock based in sort of Rhode Island, Boston area.
So did you curate these bands? Did you find them, or did they find you, or was it a mix of the two? Like,
it was kind of a mix. Usually the bands that I decide to work with are ones that I've booked shows for them in the past, and I really believe in them and their music. They really work hard, and we work well together, and, you know, I just want to see them make it. It was sort of mutual. I sort of asked them, hey, do you want, you know, help booking, or I'd love to help you out, and then others have contacted me.
That's great. I was listening to those 4 bands earlier today and sort of looking for the common theme to see, like, what is the sound of Lysten Boston? And I think, you know, a couple of ideas came to my mind. One is sort of like there's sort of a retro quality to some of it, but then as I listened to more of it, it wasn't really retro. It was more sort of like timeless, you know? Like these are bands that, you know, they're new to me, but their music hits a spot in my mind that's familiar and sort of comfortable. So I like listening, you know, to all 4 of them. Definitely Ed Balloon we were talking about, I feel like he has a personality that really comes through
sure.
on the music, and I can imagine even more so at a live show.
that's interesting you say that. So are you looking for a specific sound? Are you trying to mix it up? Is there a philosophy of what you look for in a band?
No, I don't. It's kind of just my preference, and it's just bands that when I first saw them, I was just like, my mouth was wide open. I was like, wow,
and that's
they
enough.
are amazing. Yeah, and it just kind of, it speaks to me, and I feel it, and it's just the way I felt when I saw each of these artists perform is how I want everyone to feel, and you know, how people feel when they see their favorite band. And that's what made me realize I need to work with these artists.
Involved with the Ballroom Blitz?
Yes, that was
last night, right?
Yeah.
So how did that go?
That was great. Yeah, it was. I've been realizing that I want to focus on these larger sort of special events than all of these, you know, one-off shows that are just very time-consuming. This one was to celebrate their EP release, and
Sorry, so which band was this?
Oh, sorry. Petty Morals.
This is Petty Morals. Okay, great.
Yeah, so this was to celebrate their EP release. And what we did was we had a flea market and art show in the upstairs lounge room.
Where was this?
At Once.
Oh, I didn't know there was an upstairs to that place.
Yeah. And then the downstairs we had more art and the music. So it was like an all afternoon event, all ages.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool.
It's an interesting place, the Once Ballroom.
It is. Yeah, they have like people get married there.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
But the room sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the music sounded pretty good there.
Yeah.
I like the idea of taking something that's ostensibly, you know, one band's record release party, but turning it into something bigger, you know, and having other acts play there.
Yeah.
And it really makes it a bigger event and gives you the opportunity to sort of serendipitously discover new artists. You know, you go there to see Petty Morals and you see another band you've never heard of and, you know, find a new sound that you like.
For sure. You know, that was kind of like combining different types of arts. So it was cool. Yeah.
I always consider that a major victory of mine if I go to a concert to see one artist and I discover another. Like that happened when I went to go see Ballroom Thieves and Honeysuckle opened up for them.
Yeah.
And I fell hook and line and sinker for them. They're fantastic. I mean, Ballroom Thieves are phenomenal. I love them. And when I came out there with 2 new bands in my repertoire to listen to, it's that's a huge victory in my book to be able to do that. So I told you, so my band played at Plough and Stars, okay? And I remember we opened for Big Giant, you know, Will Davies from Big Giant. And I guess he kind of coordinated a little bit with booking all the bands that were coming up that night. Honestly, it sounds like a nightmare trying to get, I don't know how many bands, I mean, you know, you have 40 minutes, you got to fill the night. They start at 6, 7 o'clock or something. You got to play till midnight. So you got to find all these bands that'll kind of work together. You got to see if they're going to bring enough people. You got to see if they sound good. how much of a nightmare is that to try and put together a list of bands do you book every single night you have to book at Plough and Stars?
We have a lot of residencies, which is nice. So that
actually
helps me.
Isn't Honeysuckle? Aren't they going to start a residency there?
They did one. It was.
Oh, they did one.
Yeah, it was last winter.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I'm behind. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So like, what's that like trying to juggle all that stuff?
It's a lot. Like I said, luckily we have a few residencies, so that saves me a few nights a week. It's 9 shows a week, so Fridays and Saturdays there's an afternoon and an evening.
You ever scrambling for someone to fill in?
Oh yeah,
you must, right?
Yeah. It's difficult. And
then bands must back out.
Yeah. It's between bands backing out and finding the right fit. Yeah, and it's hard to coordinate all that because most bands have 3 or more members, and it's coordinating their schedules, and someone gets sick or someone's kid has to be taken to the doctor or something, and it's like are there like 12 people in the band and they can't fit in Plough and Stars? It's not a huge place. So it's pretty small too. Yeah, so I get that too. I mean, I'll get people that email me to play there, so they should have done their research, and then I give them the room info, and they're like, "Oh, wait, we don't know if we can fit there."
Yeah, occasionally I'll think, I don't know if it's from you or not, but it'll be we need someone to fill in a 10, 11 p.m. spot. Who's got a friend?
Yeah, sometimes I'll do that. I'll just
out.
post on Facebook because I'm, struggling trying to fill a date.
So if you don't fill it, the band before just has to do an extra hour?
Some like it. Some prefer. If they have enough material, they'll play all night. But, I always I think it's better to get more people in the room that way by having multiple bands a night. And kind of going back to what you said, maybe someone's going to see one band and they check out the opener and the band has a new fan, so...
That's my point exactly.
Yes, the moral of the story is never skip the opening act.
Yeah,
get there
exactly.
early.
And I've learned that,
right.
now that I've been booking, because when I was younger and I'd go to shows, I'd just go for the headliner. But now that I book shows and I've discovered so many bands that way.
So to that point, I've always been curious how much ego is involved in the order of the lineup, being the opener versus the headliner, and how much problem do you have of a band feeling, offended that they're going before somebody that they feel they should be playing after?
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, they're children. We're all children. All us musicians are children.
It's actually the opposite of what you would think dealing with local shows. Every local wants to play the first or second slot. No one wants to play last.
Interesting.
But if you're playing at House of Blues, you want a headline. So it's different with local shows.
So one of the things you first said when we first started speaking, like about 4 or 5 hours ago, one of the reasons why you got into promotion is to promote the fact that Boston's a city for music. Mm-hmm. Now, certainly there are a lot of issues that Boston as a city of music has that other cities may not have to deal with. And certainly I think I met you at, I mentioned this a lot of times, it's the State of Live Music in Boston, the forums. I think that's where I met you.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, since you started working as a promoter, okay, let's start there. Since you started working as a promoter, have you seen changes in the scene in Boston? Have you kind of discovered that maybe the thought that Boston has a problem, or people perceive it to be a difficult place for musicians or for venues? Did you find that maybe that perception is not quite true, or did it kind of fall into those little baskets that everyone kind of puts Boston into sometimes?
I guess I had a different outlook at first, just being a fan of music and attending shows. You don't really know the ins and outs of it. You know which bands you like, which ones are cool, good venues to go to. But, you're not looking around to see if the room is full or not. I wonder what the room cost is here. You know, you're just not thinking of those things. You just kind of go to shows as you see they're announced or when people tell you to go. So booking kind of opened my eyes to the lack of venues we have here, the fact that a lot of shows start pretty late here as opposed to other cities. Yeah, there's a number of things that I think Boston needs to work on.
What would be the number one thing?
We need more venues, you know, in smaller to mid-sized venues, I should say, that will cater to local musicians.
Smaller to mid-size would be what, 200 to 300 people or 500 people?
Yeah, I would say like 250 or less, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So something like Lizard Lounge, Plough and Stars, more places like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because so the one what's Thunder Road opened up, and that's how big is that? That's probably 300-400.
I think it's 3
so
something,
it's a little higher.
2, 3 something.
Certainly Sinclair is like 800, right?
Sinclair's like 5 something.
5 something.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Really, it's only 5 something, huh?
Yeah, I think it's actually like about the same size as Middle East downstairs.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
So need more of those smaller venues.
Yeah, because we have so many local bands. And I mean, even now for the Plough and Stars, I'm booked through December almost. I know if I try to book a show at maybe Great Scott or something like that, I mean, they're booked through almost January, February, I'm sure.
Is that a little bigger? That's a little bit of a bigger venue than.
Yeah, that's 3 something.
Yeah. So if bands don't have a place to play. And I've heard it's also an issue with not only the number of bands that need a place to play, but also I've heard one of the last meetings we talked about how some hip hop and rap artists have difficulty getting venues, getting the owners to let them in.
Yeah.
And that was a big issue for them too.
Yeah.
And we just had Mo Pope on, and we didn't get to talk about that, but I know I wanted to talk to him about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's one of the people that have kind of stood up for that.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why too I put together Tremont Takeover. Also, we had hip hop. Few hip hop artists on that bill, and that's a big genre in this city.
Dutch
Ravel, yeah. It's a big genre here. I mean, everything is. We have a diverse music scene here, and everyone should be able to perform at these venues. Everyone should be represented. I personally don't understand why venues would turn away certain genres. Because at the end of the day, these venues care about people being in the room and making money. They shouldn't.
These acts will fill their own.
Right.
They're amazing acts.
Right.
So what can be done to solve the problem of not enough venues? I mean, is there anything that Boston as a city can do to encourage and foster new music venues to open?
I mean, I think the first start is trying to host shows in unique spaces. Just using any space we can to host live music and going to these meetings like the ones we've gone to and the one we met at, just supporting the local scene and getting the city involved too. I've been hearing a lot about different businesses and spaces using their place after hours for live music. So I think that's something that we could try to do as well.
Yeah, I'm certainly a fan of the smaller venues. Like, I feel like when I go to a show somewhere like the Lizard Lounge, the Plough and Stars, I feel like I'm part of the show if I'm in the audience in a way that at a bigger venue, it's like I'm very anonymous and, I might as well not even be there. But when I'm in a small venue, I feel like the band is there, they see me, as part of this, and it's like I'm part of the show, and my energy is part of the performance. So, I definitely love to see more small, mid-sized venues to go to shows.
Yeah, I don't like going to TD Garden you'd have to chain me up to go to Gillette Stadium to go see a show.
Oh, yeah.
There's just no way I want to go out there. There's some amazing bands that would go play there, whether it's Coldplay or whatever. I obviously want to see them, but the thought of schlepping out there and having to deal with that, I'm much more... In a heartbeat, I'll hop and go see Sinclair or Plough and Stars. I'll go because it's just you just walk in and you never know what you're going to see unless you know who's scheduled. But I'll just walk in all the time just to see what's going on, and you're right there.
For
and
sure.
I always meet the artists afterwards, and it's fantastic. I love those smaller venues.
Yeah, definitely. That's what more people need to recognize. Places like that, like Sinclair, Atwood's, you're always guaranteed to hear good music. And it's affordable. I mean, I went to the movies the other night for the first time in 5 years.
I never go to the movies.
It was $13 for a ticket.
Yeah, but don't you get those big comfy chairs?
You do, yeah.
You can lay down in it and they throw grapes at you and stuff.
Exactly.
I haven't been to one of those new ones. Like, literally, it's been years since I've been to one.
Yeah. that's not something I usually do in my free time, but I did for some reason, and
I'd
it's
rather go see music than go to a movie.
Same, and that's part of why I started Lysten Boston as well, is to not only help the local musicians, but to get people in the city to recognize that we have a music scene here, and like that is something that you could do on a Friday or a Saturday night instead of going to a bar or going to the movies. And it's cheaper than other activities like that.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I was telling you, I went to go see Roger Waters at TD Garden, and honestly, it was a fantastic show, like unbelievable show. But I went in, and the guy who asked me to go, he bought drinks and some snacks beforehand. So I'm like, I'll take care of the beers. So I bought 2, and I bought him 2, and it was $65
for 4 beers.
For 4 beers.
That doesn't sound like a good deal, Chuck.
I almost fainted. I couldn't. As I was signing, I'm like, I just spent $65 on 4 beers. I couldn't believe it.
That's insane.
And that's TD Garden prices, but you're certainly not paying that, in the smaller venues. So.
No, not at all. And I think people need to realize too that some of the music that comes out of this city, these musicians are just as talented, if not more talented, than someone that's playing at the Garden.
Yeah, they're great.
And they don't realize you can pay $10 and see something just as good and meet the musician too.
There's not always a cover though.
Yeah, no, that's true.
At Toad, I don't think they ever have a cover, or if maybe they just haven't been one that does have a cover. But
yeah, I haven't either.
Sometimes it's just free, and you just go and just buy a burger and a beer, and you get all that awesome music.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, so what's the other side of the coin is the artist getting a little something, and that's got to be a challenge too, right?
For sure. Yeah.
I remember I had a gig at the Knitting Factory in New York City years and years ago, and it was after a certain number of people had paid to get in, we would get paid, and we made $10.
Yeah,
I left there with $10, and I cried. But I don't know what the answer is. Like, I guess you have to leave it up to the people come to the door to buy their merch, and
that's usually the case. Yeah, there's unfortunately a lot of rooms. Just in general, I guess not just around here, they have really high overhead. So that's typically what it is. It's people pay a cover and a portion goes to the room and then the rest goes to the band. So unless you're able to bring a decent amount of people on any given night, sometimes you're walking away with nothing.
Yeah, the trick is you just need to make the crowd scream a lot so they get thirsty and have to buy a lot of drinks. Some $65 beers, and you get your cut out of that.
I'm still traumatized over that. God. Okay, so I wanted to ask you also the trick with promotion nowadays, right? There's the social media, there's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's all that stuff, and I have the same problem with Above the Basement. I'm trying to get the word out there, and I'm not buying advertisements. And I'm sure you're doing things like that to a certain extent. I don't know. Do you have a PR firm, or you are your own PR firm?
No, I do everything myself.
Okay, so you know how it is. So the glut, is that the word? The glut. Is that like a lot? Glut.
Yep.
Okay.
Sure.
So the glut of social media, of everything you see on social media. Like I've started following so many other promoters and musicians and stuff, and like I just was looking through my feed the other day, and it was just an endless onslaught of people promoting what they're doing. How do you battle against the tidal wave of the social media phenomenon of bands and or whatever kind of art you're doing? What's the answer there? What do you do?
I wish I knew.
You just got to keep on doing it and hope you break through.
Yeah, it's difficult, especially with Facebook. They have these algorithms that limit the posts that people are seeing from pages versus friends. It's like if someone posts they got engaged, everyone's going to see that.
Right.
But if you're posting about your upcoming show, no one's going to see it. So you kind of have to be clever about stuff like that. I've tried to promote shows by posting a picture of my dog next to a flyer, and that for some reason reaches more people.
Is that the white fluffy dog that I saw pictures of? See,
yep.
I've seen this dog on the internet. This dog is viral.
I've learned something today.
My mom didn't follow my page on Instagram until recently, and she was like, oh, I was scrolling through like the search feed or something, and she's like, and I saw this picture that looked just like my dog, and then she
it was.
Yes, well, here's an idea for you. I don't know if it would work with your dog, but there was that whole meme for a while where people were shaming their dogs by having them wear a sign around their neck.
Yes.
You could sort of reappropriate that and put like a band promotion. Is that what your dog is? Your dog
well, I did that for to vote for me for the BMAs.
Yeah,
but I might do that. Continue to do that that for shows.
Interesting.
And yeah, have him
Shaming
be
your
his
dog
own
to
meme.
promote yourself.
Yeah.
You must be very proud
Yes.
to be shaming your dog like that. It's like those poor cats who are terrified by the cucumbers people place behind them when they're eating. Have
Yeah.
you seen that?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
But you know how many traumatized cats there are now out there? Like, my daughters want me to do it. Like, let's go put it. I'm like, no, I don't want to terrify my cat.
No, but what you
It
need
would be
to,
funny, though.
What you need to do, Chuck, is find some way to twist that as an above the basement promotion, where you're not terrifying your cat, but you're building on the popularity, sort of
So
photo
we-
recognition of that meme.
So we somehow need to incorporate cats, cucumbers, and my podcast Above the Basement
Yeah.
to some kind of meme.
You should hide a cucumber behind every artist that comes on.
That's true. Maybe we could scare the crap out of the artist, see if it works that way. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard because another thing is you can't do that old school thing of taking posters and putting them up on the walls anywhere,
Yeah.
right? You can't do that anywhere.
I know.
mean, there's maybe a few places. I mean, the city ordinance doesn't allow you to put any posters up.
Right.
That was a way to see these things. So now you have to go to social media to see these posters, and now it's just lost in the shuffle.
Yeah. I know. I
unfortunately.
remember finding about shows, leaving a show. People would be standing at the doorway as you're leaving, and they'd hand out flyers, and that's how I'd hear about, upcoming shows. And yeah, social media is tough now. I think it's just working around those crazy algorithms and knowing how to post on each of the platforms to reach as many people as possible.
Have you done Facebook ads?
I have, and some of them reach less than organically.
I've done a couple
So,
of them. I don't think they do a damn thing.
No. Yeah, I think they're just trying to suck money out of
Yeah.
people any way they can.
Yeah, I would think Twitter followers are gold, though, right? Because if you get Twitter to follow your band, then they're hooked, and they're going to see all your promoted shows.
Yeah, Twitter, I think it's easier to get followers, but I don't think they necessarily translate or will take action. Like, I don't think, like we say at Pledge, they're not necessarily going to be the ones that translate to pledgers.
Right.
And kind of same thing with shows. You might get people to like and retweet and stuff, but they're not necessarily going to be the ones that are going to actually purchase a ticket and go to your show.
So I'm interested, you've talked about Pledge and about Lysten Boston and the artists you work with there. I'm interested what your relationship is with other artists, like Petty Morals. Was that the show last night?
Yeah.
Like, do you represent them, or do you just know them and book shows for them? What's your relationship with that band?
That was actually the first show I ever booked for them. I think I'd been to some of their shows in the past, and they reached out to me asking if I wanted to promote it and help them.
So how did they find you? Like, how did they know about Lysten Boston?
That's a good question. Sometimes I'll ask people how they found out about me. Usually it's word of mouth or just kind of seeing my shows around town.
Yeah, they look like a fun band. They won the Boston Music Award for Best Video, I think, a couple years ago. I don't know if you guys saw that one.
I don't see enough videos.
Yeah, videos are still out there.
They are, but
Yeah.
I don't see them. We've talked about this before. Like, I'm in the MTV generation, like the original MTV generation. We were talking about this with Ruby Rose Fox. And that's where we would watch videos religiously.
Yeah.
And if you go to MTV now, I don't think there's any music on there at all, for all I know. So I don't even know where you go to see videos anymore.
YouTube.
YouTube,
Yeah.
I guess.
People, promote it on your Twitter feed or your Facebook.
But that's another endless pit of cat videos with cucumbers,
Yeah.
so to speak. So I mean, I don't know. It's tough. Someone needs to come up with a whole new social media platform that we can destroy then afterwards.
So it's certainly a moving target. Like, social media changes so rapidly. Like, it seems like a million years ago that MySpace was the place to
Yeah.
promote your band, but it wasn't. It was like 10 years ago. It wasn't that
Yeah.
long ago.
Did you hear that AOL Messenger is going to be is shutting down?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on that when it first came out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm 97 years old. I don't know if you knew that. I look pretty good though for 97. Yeah, I definitely wanted to ask you about that because not that social media is my livelihood for this, but it's certainly the only thing that I'm doing, and that's most of what I'm doing, and it's a struggle.
Yeah,
It's a
it
struggle.
is. Yeah, I think social media, radio.
What did you do for radio?
I've had a few interviews. We went on with Petty Morals, Boston Emissions last Sunday to promote that show.
So who
Again,
was that?
you kind
That
of have
was-
to promote that to get people to listen to then promote your show.
It's a
So
vicious circle.
yeah,
And
it's-
that was
it's
you
just-
and the whole band
Yes,
on the radio?
yep, yeah.
Oh, that sounds like a fun interview.
yeah.
I think it's awesome that you're doing this. First of all, I think it's awesome that you started the company because that takes total guts to do, especially coming. I mean, how do you find time to do that with your Pledge music? Is that it's all in your spare time?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, just Pledge alone, it's like almost 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, but the two kind of work well together. So like I have met artists through Pledge that I've then booked when they've decided to tour and come to Boston, and I've gotten a lot of Boston artists to use Pledge. Of course, I want to grow Lysten Boston. I would love to have a team of people, like an in-house staff that does like booking and promoting and PR and design. And
you said you do everything yourself.
I do everything.
You don't have an assistant. You don't have an intern.
No, I've tried to get an intern and it just.
But it sounds like there is some value in the networking between Lysten Boston and Pledge.
For sure, yeah.
So you see an advantage in that.
So, well, congratulations on the nomination and good luck. Everyone can vote at BostonMusicAwards.com. You know, we are the official podcast partner of the Boston Music Awards. So you're gonna be there that evening?
I will be there.
That's gonna be hopping.
Yeah.
That's gonna be exciting.
It's gonna be fun.
And so, what's next for you other than the music awards? Anything big?
I have a few things in the works. Probably not till 2018. I'm kind of laying low for a little while and just.
It's been a big year for you.
Working. Yeah. It's been a lot. Last night was my last show of the year. Maybe I'll promote a couple.
Like a big event show.
Yeah. I might promote, maybe a couple shows at the Plough and Stars here and there. But yeah, 2018 will be the next.
Excellent. You thinking intern?
Hopefully. Yeah. I need help.
Yeah. Don't we all? Well, thanks very much for sitting with us and coming all the way out here.
Thanks.
Find out more about Alyssa at listenboston.com and be sure to check out the artists she represents, Radclyffe Hall, Roxy Pro, Cruel Miracle, and Ed Balloon. And a special thanks to Ike Walker for sitting in this time around. Go to our website at abovethebasement.com where you can sign up for our newsletter, listen and subscribe to our podcast, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, and look at all the nice pictures we post on Instagram. We are everywhere. On behalf of Ronnie, Ike, and myself, thanks for listening. Tell your friends. And remember, Boston music, like its history, is unique. Above the Basement, Boston Music and Conversation is recorded at beautiful Woods Hill Table Restaurant in West Concord, Massachusetts. Woods Hill Table is honored to have been awarded 3 stars as the most sustainable restaurant in Massachusetts by the Sustainable Restaurant Association. The food is organic and locally sourced, non-GMO, and is absolutely delicious. Chef Charlie Foster focuses on seasonal ingredients and their own grass-fed livestock is raised on the farm at Woods Hill in Bath, New Hampshire. Go to woodshilltable.com for reservations.